Hi players, bonjour from Paris, my name is Asaf and welcome to my channel Easy Board Games. Today we're going to have a review for this war of mine that was designed by Michał, Oracz and Jakub Wiśniewski. I really hope that I pronounced those names correctly because these guys deserve a lot of credit. This game was published by Awaken Realms, and you probably ask yourselves, how come am I doing a review for a game that is already on the market for a few years? Well, usually I'm doing reviews for two reasons. Either I played the game a few times, I really didn't like it, and I'm here to tell you that I think you should steer away. The second option is if I played the game for many times, I absolutely love it, and I'm here to share with you why I think you should have this game in your collection. So let's have a quick overview of the game and then we'll start the review. In this war of mine, we're going to play a group of civilians that are just basically trying to survive the day-by-day atrocities of the war. This game was inspired by the siege on Sarajevo that took place between 92 and 96. Now, we're going to have here a few phases, starting with the morning phase, where we're going to draw one card here from the event deck, and we're going to resolve whatever happens over here. Now, I don't want to start reading even the first card because I don't want to ruin the element of surprise, if you can call it like that, even though, yeah, probably sad surprises. But in these events, usually you're going to have some negative effect. We're going to add some cold tokens that are going to impact us a little bit later. Then we're going to move on to the action phase. These are the day phase itself. And as you can see here on the left, we're going to start the game with 3 survivors. One of them is going to be considered as some sort of the leader. This is why the card is red, and we're going to start only with one of those. And the other 2 that we can see over here are other survivors, of course, that can have benefits, but usually the person that has the red card has a benefit that is most of the time will be a bit stronger. Now, basically each survivor can do up to 3 actions during the day phase, but pay attention that over here we can see something that is called state tokens. Now we can have different state tokens. Over here we can see that we have Hunger 2. This is, of course, if you're going to feed your character, it's going to drop down to Hunger 1, or even not at all. So when you're having something like this or not at all, that means that you'll be able to do up to 3 actions with that character. Obviously, since all the characters are going to start with Hunger 2, that means that the last action cannot be taken. That means that we can do 1 action, 2 action, and then we cannot do a 3rd action. Now we're going to have different state tokens. Sometimes we're going to have characters that are ill. Sometimes we're going to have some misery. Sometimes we're going to have even wounds, and so on. Now, every time that we have something like this, we can go only to the leftmost column and see if that action is available. So over here we can see that at least 1 action we can take with Bruno, which is the yellow character right over here. But when we want to do a 2nd action, we can see that already the wounds and the illness state tokens do not allow us to do it. So that means that Bruno will be able to take only 1 action if this is his condition. Now in this phase, we're going to do different things like searching basically in these different blue cards. We can see, for example, that we have here Hip. We're going to take these actions, we're going to place our character over here, and basically we need to assign all the missions simultaneously, and then we're going to start resolving it one by one. So here, for example, we're going to flip this card to the other side, and then again, I don't want to spoil the surprise for you, we're going to gain some things. Usually when it's blue, you're going to gain some things, and when it's red, sometimes you're getting something, sometimes you're not getting anything. Over here, for example, when we have rubble, if we have a shovel, and this is a piece of equipment that we're going to start with, then we need to spend an action just to flip it to the other side, just like this. And then we'll need again to clear this pile of rubble in order to completely take out this card from the game, and then we'll have access to different things. Over here, if we have the closed door, we'll have to use lockpick, which is the only way for us to try and open this door. Hopefully we'll be able to succeed and the lockpick will not be destroyed, but sometimes it happens as well. The other thing that we can do over here is to build new things. So we have over here the fittings cards. We can see over here, we can build some herbal garden, some beds, stoves to cook, metal workshop, really different things that will allow us to do different actions later on. For an example that I want to give you, we can build this deadly trap in order to catch some mice, or actually more likely it will be rats. So we will need to pay everything that is written over here. In our case, it's going to be 2 mechanical parts, 5 components, which are these things that we can see over here, and also 2 wood, which is what you can see over here. After we have built it, we can place it over here, and now as another action, we can send a character over here in order to put some bait in this trap. Then we're going to place a wait token, and we're going to resolve this wait token in another phase that we can see a little bit later. If we're lucky, we're going to receive 1 food. If we're very lucky, we're going to receive even 2 food. This is, of course, the raw food that you can see over here. And if we're absolutely no luck at all, we're going to remove this wait token and we're not going to receive food at all. Most of the game, we're going to just roll this D10 die in order to see what was the result. For example, if I rolled now a 2, that means that even though I've took the time, built this trap, placed here some sort of a bait, still I got 2 and then I got nothing, and I need to do this again. We're going to circle back a little bit later in order for me to show you one of the cons that I think there are in this game. Maybe you already managed to understand it, but we'll get back to it a little bit later. Another thing that we'll be able to do is try and some sort of like research, new ideas that we have. Most of the time it will be maybe improvements for things that we already have on the table itself. Sometimes it will be something new, like build a chair, build a second bed, maybe take our stove and make it actually better so we don't need to spend 2 wood in order to heat and take down these coal tokens. We need to spend only 1. In order to do that, we need to come over here, spend an action that called new idea, and then take 1 of these cards and just add it to the pile that we have over here with the fitting cards. Let's go over maybe the last thing that I want to show you, and that is the outside. First of all, when you go to the outside, you will need to roll a die to see if you got hit by a sniper. Oh yeah, we have even those over here. And when you get hit by a sniper, you can take some wounds and your game can go down very quickly. If you haven't got hit by a sniper, you can actually take a visitor card and resolve whatever you have over there, and maybe even get a new character that will join the group of survivors. After that, when all the characters have exhausted all the actions that they will be able to do, we're going to move on to the dusk phase. Here we're going to actually give all the characters food and water. If we gave them raw food, we'll be able to take this state token of hunger and take it down by 1. If this was the case, then we're just going to discard it completely. That means that our character is not hungry at all. And we'll need to give them a water. If we don't have enough food or water, they're going to, of course, first of all, get hungrier. Or in another option, they're actually going to start and getting misery, which is another thing that is going to make this game more difficult. After we've done that, we're going to go to the evening phase. In this case, we're going to decide if some characters are going to scavenge actually outside of our house, if some characters are going to stay in guard, and if maybe one of the characters are going to sleep on the floor or on a bed if we manage to build that during the day phase. Now, when we're going to scavenge, so let's say that we're going to send the 2 characters to scavenge. I'm going to place them right over here for now, and 1 character that is going to stay over here and guard the door, right over here where it says guard. First of all, since all of these characters are not going to sleep at all, we'll need to add 1 more state token that is called fatigue. When we're going to scavenge, we're going to choose where do we want to scavenge, in which location. The closest the card is to us, basically where you guys are sitting right now, that means that it's going to take us less time to reach there because it's closest, and then we're going to have more time, and we're going to see this mechanism in 2 more minutes in order to explore this area. And the more we go furthest from the player, we're going to have more distant location, and we're going to have less time because we have to come back to our home before dawn breaks. So let's say, for example, that we have decided to explore over here this location that is called a small apartment building. Now we can see on the card itself, I'm going to attach a photo that we can see that we have a basement entrance. And this is important because sometimes you will be able to take with you different things. For example, you'll be able to have some rubble, and then that means that you don't have to, but it's going to help you if you're going to take the shovel with you. Now pay attention that it's not going to be so quickly to take as much equipment as you would like, because each character can carry only that much weight. Here, for example, Boris can take with him up to 6, and over here, Marin can take with him only up to 3. The shovel already takes 1, and we know that we have to bring water with them back, so each water is going to weigh 1. It gets complicated, guys. So over here, when we decided where we want to explore, we're going to take 14 of these exploration cards, and we're going to create a deck that is called the Unknown. We're going to place it right over here, and then we're going to draw card after card and just resolve what is written there. Sometimes we're going to have places that we'll be able to place over here, and we'll be able to come back to them later. Sometimes something will happen and we'll have to raise the level of noise. And when we'll need to take a noise check, that means roll the die and see if what we have is lower than the marker itself. That means that we made actually so much noise, we're going to drop it back to 1, but then we're going to take one of these resident cards. Now, sometimes it's going to be something that is neutral, that doesn't bother us at all. Sometimes, or very rarely, it's going to be something positive. And as you guessed it, most of the times it's going to be something that we need to be very, very careful with. Now, during this exploration, you'll be able to, for example, lose 2 cards from the exploration. So that means you're going to have less time in order to explore the area, which is something that is super interesting. And when you're exploring, or when you're having a different engagement with the resident or other things, we're going to go to the book of scripts that we have over here. This is a book with almost 2,000 paragraphs basically that are going to send us from one paragraph to another, just with story and kind of choose your own adventure. You're going to have some possibilities that you'll be able to take. We're going to circle back to it later, but this is something that I really appreciate in this game. After we finish with scavenging, we're going to go on to the night raid, which is something that is going to happen. We'll need to take this night raid card, show it, and then of course resolve whatever happens on this card. This is basically just people, thugs, or just people that are hungry, that are trying to come into our house and take different things like different food or different medication, or just looting our home. Now, if we were able to board up some of these holes that we have over here, we'll be able to mitigate a little bit some of this damage. If our guy was armed with a rifle, with a shotgun, or with even just a pistol or an axe, this is again something that we'll be able to fend off, but this is quite a punishing phase. Moving on, we're going to have the dawn phase. This is where the characters are coming back from their scavenging. This guy is not on guard duty anymore. We're going to resolve the fate card, which is what we have over here, and each character has something kind of unique, like Boris maybe wants to smoke cigarettes, maybe Bruno wants to have a coffee, and if you don't have these items over here in the storage, then they might get miserable, and the more miserable they get, the less action you'll be able to do. This is something that you really need to pay attention to. After that, we're going to draw one of these narrative actions card, which is probably the only sure ray of sunlight that you have in this game. This is always going to be something positive that we have, and this is something that we'll be able to draw 2 of those, put one of them next to us, and then use it whenever the card allows us to do so. And then we're going to start again the morning phase with drawing another one of these event cards, resolving it, and moving on. The game is going to finish in 2 possible ways. One of them is if you just lost because all your characters died, or it was just too much for them. Again, there are different ways to get there and so on. But the other option is that you actually manage to go through all the deck of chapters and events all the way to the last card of the ending events that is called Ceasefire. And that's it, guys. That is basically an overview of this game. It was really in a nutshell because there's a lot more that's going on over here, especially in the scavenging that I just went a little bit, maybe too quickly over it, but I think that it's okay for a review. So let's start with the first point that I always love to start the reviews with, and that is a setup and rules. So In setup, I want to say if it's the first time that you're setting up this game, it's going to take you about 30 minutes, something like that, maybe a little bit more just because you don't know the game so well. But I think that for me, after you're playing the game already a few times, it's going to take you about 20 minutes, plus minus, just because this is a card-driven game. So you're just going to take a deck of cards, you're going to shuffle it, and then you're going to put it in the right place on the board. Everything is printed. To be honest, it's very organized and clean way to set up the game. The second question about the rules, is it going to be a game that will be easy for me to learn? Is it going to be hard for me to explain to other players? And I'm here to tell you that this game is so simple to understand. The journal, okay, this is so thematic over here. The journal itself, which is the rule book, it really has, first of all, not a lot of pages, which is already something that is positive. Then you're actually, before you it's not like you need to learn the game with the rulebook and then you're going to start to play. No, you're actually going with it phase by phase. So they're going to instruct you. For example, we can see over here the morning phase, and they're going to tell you this is what you need to do step by step. If there is nothing to elaborate, that means that the card itself is going to show you what you need to do. I think that I didn't watch even a video about how to play this game, just because this game super easy to understand, and I think that you're just using the journal as page by page, just to like, okay, now it's morning, now it's like day, now it's just to make sure that you're following the order that is necessary for this game. But if not, guys, this game super easy to understand, and probably this is the best rulebook Awaken Realms for me ever managed to produce, and definitely the easiest game for me that I got from Awaken Realms. In terms of understanding the rules, of course. So a good point. I don't know where they got lost with other games, but that's not the point for now. So moving on to another thing that is, of course, the thematic of the game and the gameplay itself. This is the meat and bones of this review, guys. I think that, first of all, this game is, if there's a word in English that I just don't know it, that is like more than thematic. This is just like, when you're starting to play this game, you're inside their world, okay? When you're inside this house and you're going to build something, you're going to go outside and you might get hit by a sniper. When you actually manage to take out the rubble and you manage to pass the closed door and you're looking here in the furniture and you're like, oh my God, yes, I got a few more items. You're genuinely happy when things go well, okay? And I think this is an amazing way for the creators to, when you're watching a movie or something like that, and I know that if you watch the video of Alex Radcliffe from Board Game Co, when he chose 10 worst board games in my collection, and this war of mine for his own reasons, and that is totally legit. He chose this war of mine, and I try to do an analogy between this war of mine and just like a sad movie that you're watching on TV or whatever in cinema, and you're like, go with me on this. So have you seen Requiem for a Dream? If you haven't, please watch it. It's an amazing movie. If you have, that, you'll understand what I'm talking about. Because this movie is a sad movie, okay? Other emotions as well, but basically just sad movie. Now, are you going to be upset with Darren Aronofsky for making such a sad movie? No, actually, I think it's a masterpiece, because the director managed to pass to me, a viewer, all the feelings that they wanted me to feel. So going back to the game, those two amazing designers and whomever, if they were the ones who wrote the script, then God damn it, this is so good. So they actually managed to give the player the feeling that you are in this surviving situation of a civil war. You're hungry. You're sad. You might get ill if it's too cold outside and you haven't boarded up your shelter. You might get wounded by a sniper or by other things. When you're going to explore, when you go to scavenge and you're seeing a character that is doing something weird and you want to go see what's going on, or there's a damsel in distress and you want to go help. What will happen later? Maybe I should just keep everything to myself and not see what's going on over there, and hopefully everything will be okay. So in terms of thematic, this game is incredible. Few are the games that are so thematic, so highly thematic as this War of Mine. And I think that's kind of project on the gameplay itself. And the gameplay itself is tough, okay? Maybe even more than tough. It's punishing. Sometimes to a point that you're like, you know what, I just don't know what I can do better in this situation. Because you want to do different things and you just can't. Now, let's go back to just the way you're starting the game. So let me take you to the table. And we can see that our characters are already starting with hunger 2. That means that each character can't do really 3 actions during this phase. They can actually do only 1. Unless you can feed your characters before dusk and I miss something in the rules, but I don't think so. So roll with me. So already instead of 3 actions, we're starting with 2 actions. Okay, in the dusk phase, you're going to feed them, so their hunger is going to drop by 1, right? So now what's going to happen is one of them is going to stay on guard. So we're going to add 1 fatigue stay token over here. So again, they will be able to do only 2 actions. One of them at least is going to scavenge, if not 2, because you want as many things as possible. So again, you're going to start the next day with only be able to do 2 actions. And to be honest, guys, most of the games that I played, most of the time, all the characters could have done only 2 actions during the day. It was a very rare situation when I had at least 1 character that can do 3 actions per action phase. And that is very difficult because already just in order to remove 1 card of rubble, you'll need to use this. So you're going to spend 1 action, then you're going to flip it to the other side. You're going to spend another action. That's it. Your character is done. So I think there wasn't even 1 game that I managed to clear the entire house, let's say, from everything that was there. Now, something that I maybe failed to mention before, but this war of mine is based on a video game by the studio 11-bit, which is, it's an amazing game as well. So the fact that they managed to translate a video game into a board game in such an excellent way is amazing. The thing is that the board game is much more punishing than the video game. In the video game, probably after 1 action phase or, okay, let's say 2 days, you will be able actually to already clean your entire house from different things and have all the equipment that you can acquire during your cleanup, let's say. And here it just doesn't happen. Not to mention that many of the cards are going to have some sort of a negative effect on you. Obviously, this is a war. And again, they really wanted us to go into this mind of the survivors. So it just makes the game so punishing and difficult that sometimes it's just frustrating to do something. Sometimes you're going to have pleasant surprises. And to be honest with you, when you have all the time this down and then like 1 peak of up, you're like, oh my God, something good finally happened. And you can truly, and you know, it can be something so small, like you managed to get 1 more food or you managed to get medication. And you're so happy that when you stop 1 moment to play and you're actually thinking about, you're like, I cannot believe that I'm so happy for just having this herbal medication, which is not even the strongest one, but it's amazing how they managed, like the designers, how they managed to put us in the state of mind of really survivors in this war. Let's move on to another thing that is replayability. Now, I'll be honest with you guys, with almost 2,000 paragraph over here, I don't think that besides maybe, you know, those generic trade options that you have sometimes in this game, I don't think that even once I came across the same paragraph. And even if I did, it was already so many games ago that I probably forgot about it. So this is something obviously that contributes a lot to the replayability, which is amazing. Another thing that kind of can bother you in replayability is the lack of event cards. So I mean that besides the event cards that I have already over here, and you're going to shuffle the different events as part of the first steps in setup, is that you have maybe 5 more event cards. Now, I'm not saying that this is a game that you're bringing every day to the table, but in a game, you're probably going to see events that you already played. Now, if it's 1, 2 events, it doesn't bother me too much. But when you're like, oh my God, haven't I played this event deck already in my last game? Because I think there's not a lot of variety over here with the event cards. I think there was a place to bring a little bit more event cards just to really change the game from one session to another. But it might be a little bit too petty. But even though I think that even when I have a few weeks or a few months between one play of this war of mine to another, I still feel like, oh my God, but I already seen this event, and you're like, please don't let me have this specific kind of event because it's truly really punishing and so on. So I think there is a place to have a bit more event cards, which is something that we going to talk about a little bit later with the expansions themselves. So I'm guessing that, again, the only true con that I have over here is that the game is very punishing, especially when you have a combat, for example, that is supposed to go with dice. So basically when your whole scavenge depends on one roll die over here that you have, boom, if this guy had a shotgun, then that's it, you're gone. Or if you are not armed and you need to roll this die and you have a blank, that means that you missed, because sometimes you're going to encounter different thugs, for example. You're going to draw some of these tokens, and according to their letter and what the paragraph is saying, this is the kind of equipment that they will have. And I'm telling you guys that starting combat in this game is just, if you can avoid it, avoid it. It's so punishing and so difficult that most of the time is just not worth it unless you are forced to do it. And if you're forced to do it, I truly hope that you got some sort of a weapon with you. To conclude everything, I think that this war of mine is an incredible experience. You have this side of the map. If it's too easy for you, for some reason, you can flip the board to the other side when you have a different house, and actually it's going to be a little bit more difficult because every time that you would want to do something, then there is a risk of something else. I'm sorry that I'm a little bit vague, but again, I don't want to ruin the surprise sort of for you. I think that this game is a must in a collection. Strong narrative, and I already said it in a few videos, but if all the people who are writing campaign games, I don't know, maybe Gloomhaven, or if we're going back to Awaken Realms, then it can be Etherfields and Tainted Grail. And if you enjoy these games and the narrative, then bravo for you, and I'm super happy for you. But I never came across a script that is so good, like writing-wise, okay, as this war of mine. This is truly a masterpiece in this kind of genre. If you're happy with the game, you like it, it's hitting your table a bit more, then there are two other scenarios that you can play in the core game itself, which is something that is going to challenge you a little bit more. If it's still not enough for you guys, then we have two expansions. One of them is called Tales from the Ruined City, and the other one is called Days of Siege, which is right over here. So these two expansions are going to also give you new possibilities to do in this game, and also going to add more of the same, but in a really good way, because it's just going to add to the replayability and to the playing value that you get from this game. Guys, thank you so much for watching. I truly appreciate it. If you have any kind of question, if you have any kind of request for me to do a video on any game, feel free to be in touch in the comments or just directly to me. Take care, and I'll see you next time.